Welcome back from that, and this is the Coffee Court Hour, definitely where we discuss matters of national economy regarding all sectors. And of course, don't forget to buy your securities. All take securities through Zabu, as suggested there, *292# and quite a number of options will be available to you. And of course, you can buy a government bond or a company security of any of your choice. The markets open at 8:15. That's AM. And as I speak, just 15 minutes left for the markets to open. They close at exactly 3:15 p.m. From 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. That's Zabu. Do something new. *292# and everything will go right. Do something new for yourself and yourself an extra income as a trader right there. All right. Now heading straight into the coffee court. This time around, the discussion is going to be around the Milo land anti-NOAA system, and we want to understand, does it still hold, and also the rising cases of forgery of land titles. All right, Coffee Court has more of these particular details.
Welcome to the Coffee Court, Monday to Friday. My name is Fred Makuvia, where we ask the hard questions, but most importantly, questions that matter. And this time round, we'll be digesting matters of my land, and I'm joined by Mr. Obo Dennis, the Public Relations Officer, when it comes to matters of Ministry of Lands, Housing, and Urban Development. Mr. Obo, thank you for joining us on this Coffee Court, where we ask the hard questions.
Hi, thanks also for getting up those hard questions. I hope, as a minister, we're able to articulate and respond to them.
Let's begin by your mandate as Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in Uganda.
Now, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development has about 3 very key important mandates. It has a mandate of land, it has a mandate of housing, and also oversees the mandate and locate of urban development. What we look at as a ministry is to make sure that there is land tenure security in this country, and we also do have a mandate that handles issues of affordable and decent housing, and also ensuring sustainable land use and proper urban development. That is the mandate of our ministry.
Okay, let's now delve so much on matters regarding my land. Does the principle of my land still hold in the present situation, Mr. Obo?
Now, Milo land and issues of Milo arise out of the 1900 agreement. And after that 1900 Buganda agreement, we see the first Milo titles coming out in 1908 in this country. That's when the real first titles on Milo came out. How it was distributed, that's another issue. Since then, up to about the 1950s, it started with having the provisional certificates being issued. People got land, it was not surveyed, so they were given provisional documentation. When they finally surveyed their lands, they got what called final certificates. Now, these final certificates were later converted to what we call the Milo Register Volume Titles, MRVs. And it was in the 1950s, about 1956, that again the MRVs or Milo Register Volume Titles were again converted, the registry closed, and now we have the current Milo titles which have block and plot numbers, but still maintaining the old counties, Bulemezi, Chagwe, Singo, Maokota, and so on and so forth. So, as we speak today, yes, the Milo titles still have a relevance. The current register follows the block and plot numbers, but these are issued, the titles that are issued following the old counties, as I've mentioned. We do not have new titles coming out. Actually, since 1950s, we have not had any new titles coming out. But it is the subdivisions on all those old titles that have been coming out. So if you have a current block and plot, Chagwe, block 10, plot 12, you can trace back that title to the Milo register volume number, which will again take you to the final certificate number and again back to the provisional certificate. Any title that you cannot trace backwards to get its root is a forgery.
Okay.
So that is one thing that you should know. And we have captured all the things in the system to make sure that you can document from the title where it comes from in 1922, let's say, up to the current system to show what subdivisions were done, who were the first owners of the first titles, and who are now the current owners and the acreage of land. Now the relevance. The titles that we are given were legal documents. Indeed, the Milo titles to stay today still are evidence of legal documentation that was issued by Office of Titles.
Okay.
The law has provided that the Office of Titles, which is the Office of Commercial Land Registration, is the one that issues this documentation.
Okay.
And as long as you have a title from Office of Title, whether it wasn't updated and it's still on MRV, or they have a block and plot, those titles are still genuine. They either need update, or you have your current title in your names showing with a block and plot number.
Mr. Boy, you have postulated that this emanated right from 1980s. We are in 2022.
1908.
1908.
Yes.
We are still stretching for whether it still holds any relevance.
Now, the relevance, you know what is happening these days. Many people are coming up and producing titles that they are owners of those lands. And they put those titles to Office of Titles, to owners. You come and say you own the same piece of land as me. So Office of Titles will ask you to bring your documentation, and I will also present mine. Now the relevance of that old documentation is that the Office of Titles will use it to track backwards and see which of the two claims are genuine. So the relevance comes in that one, Office of Titles has the original government genuine records, and it is this that can be used to identify who the correct owner of the land is. As long as Office of Titles has said that this title belongs to Mr. X or Mrs. Y, that is the evidence which it has got from the old records as documented by the registrars and people working in those offices from 1908 up to date. Any forgery in between shall be detected, because for any title that goes out, the original remains in the land office. So from 1908, the originals have remained in the land office, and owners only take the duplicates. So if you bring any document, it must be cross-checked against another document that government holds under Office of Titles.
We keep asking ourselves, with a fully fledged ministry like this, why is still forgery still in existence? With a fully fledged ministry like this, Mr. Bo.
Now, it is important to note that the forgeries actually come from outside. It is unfortunate to say that the Ugandan population these days, many people have actually developed, I don't know that to call it bad manners, but all these issues of fraud and forgery start from outside. Somebody sits, he gets the information and details of a piece of land and uses it to rebuild a title, not knowing that we have captured the details, not only on the hard copies, but also in the system. So any forgery that comes in, we are able to see, to compare the signatures of the registrars in the 1950s, in the 1930s, or even the transfers. All these we are able to see and compare, and as long as the two do not tally, it is definitely a document that is questionable. What we do is to hand over those documents to CID for further investigation and make sure that they do get the culprits and have them apprehended.
The people doing the forgery out, the public says the ministry is responsible for the forgery. As the person in charge of communication is saying, we are responsible. Who is responsible?
No, we cannot be responsible for forgeries. We hold the genuine records that have been issued. So we cannot be the ones again to forge a document if you're holding the genuine one. So, well, there may be some connivance in terms of a few bad apples, a few individuals who may pass over information to outsiders. But there is no way you can perfect the signatures, the old ink, the types of papers that are used at that time, the gold scheme, to be able to come up with a perfect document and present it, and you do not see that it is actually forgery. So on our side, one, we usually warn people and ask them to carry out due diligence. Due diligence is just getting that document. Even before you have got it, before you have paid anything, go and carry out a thorough search of information about it. Talk to the neighbors. Go to surveys and mapping and find out from the old records. Is it there? Was it ever surveyed? Move to valuation. Do you have any records? Move to land registration. Do you also have any records on this? And if they have, they will say yes. But as long as the answer comes up, no, 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 from one or two offices, then that is questionable. And indeed, it already raises a red flag and should be able to discourage you from any further transaction of payment because it's a forgery. The last office where these forgeries are taken actually should be the Office of Titles, and specifically ask to see the registrars of titles. They will peruse, they will cross-check and determine if it is a forgery. We usually get hold of them because we don't want them to keep in circulation for people to be defrauded. And when we get them to, we pass them over to CID.
But we're talking about a public which is literate about matters of land, Mr. Obo, who even access to your officer is not an easy thing. So the most affected people are the people in rural areas who have no access to maybe the senior officers you're talking about.
We have on many occasions held what we call open land registration days. We are soon to have one, and indeed I invite you to come and see for yourselves. We announce in a zone that we are going to be in this zone for 1 week. We are going to be answering all questions, looking at whoever has a title and wants to check whether it's right or wrong, whether it's genuine or fraudulent. So we announce, hold a very big public awareness campaign, and then invite the public to come and check for themselves and see what is in the land information system. Most cases, actually, it is interesting that nearly 99% of the people who come to check their titles have found them in the system, and they're genuine. But it is the 1% usually, and they are very few.
Okay.
They are very few because you know, to forge these land documents, the land office of Justice has a lot of information, including correspondence on issues which the public doesn't know.
Okay.
So it is easy. We show it to you, you see it, and you go back satisfied. Those who come and you find that their titles are actually forged, it could be a print deed which was forged, it could be a transaction which was forged, it could be the title itself, or you could even have a genuine certificate, but somebody has forged an entry on it. So the fraud and forgery takes many, many types of manifestation. Indeed, that's why it's important that whoever wants to carry out any transaction, whoever wants to check anything, it is important that you go yourself. Do not send an authorized person, do not send a lawyer. Go to the office yourself and have the document checked in the front and answers given to you by our own officers at the zone offices.
So back to matters of Milo land. You seem to be riding so much on Milo land as ministry. Why?
Now, Milo has had very many challenges. Indeed, Milo is the tenure system where most evictions have taken place. If you look at the Land Act provided that there shall be occupants, categorized into two groups. The lawful, Kasangwao, Kaokada, the grandfather was on the land, paid Busuru, did what, and they have all the receipts. That is the lawful one, you cannot chase. Then there is the bona fide one, Chesenza. came onto the land, acquired that land 12 years before the passing of the 1995 Constitution. That means that person was on the land 1983 and backwards. That one also is protected by the law. And any other person who has bought from those bona fide or lawful occupants are also protected by the law. Someone who has come onto the land in 1983 onwards up to date, the law has provided that you look for your landlord and take steps to rectify your stay on your chibanja.
Okay.
Now, most of these persons who have come on after 1983 up to date have not taken steps to look for their landlords and pay usuru. They have no documents, nothing. Even the indagano, they say, well, I got this from this one, here is a small agreement. I cannot trace who this person brought from. All these people are supposed to take steps and look for the landlord. So, during our open days, we actually have a specific session where whoever is on a chibanja will provide you with information of your landlord.
Okay.
The previous landlords, the old ones who knew these things, have died, they have passed on. Landlords have not updated their titles. Those who have updated, the names are of a new generation of people who are in Kampala. Some know that the land is heavily tenanted. It has so many tenants on it, so many baby banja on it, that you cannot actually evict them, you cannot use your land. So they decide to sell. Now when you sell, remember these people have not registered their land in the land office as encumbrances. The law also provided that Owechibanja, after paying usuru, can register their interests on the Milo owner's title. So that the Milo owner, under his title, there is a reflection under encumbrances that on this Milo, whose registered owner is Busurwa, there is Owechibanja Yoweria Wotoitide, who has 10 acres and you cannot evict. So any person going to search at our zone offices will have a printout of all the Basenze who are registered and who have legal documentation and who you cannot chase.
Okay.
You cannot evict. What has happened is that, again, it is a problem of the law, because the law said if you are Chibanja, if you want, you can register and get the certificate of occupancy.
And who is to change that law, Mr. Obo? If the problem is the law, who is to change or is to facilitate the amendments of the law?
It is Parliament. Ours are to raise the issues after implementing and seeing the gaps, and then we'll make recommendation through our minister to Parliament to have these changes. And indeed, I know that there are changes that are coming up. A lot of amendments are coming from the Bamgemene report, the one of Honorable Lady Justice Bamgemene, and then also what we have seen for implementation of these interventions to make sure that even Owechibanja gets legal documentation that he can present in courts of law in order to avoid eviction.
So how much are you investing in this process? Because you seem to be stranded with low budgetary allocation as Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development.
It is true, we are stranded, we do not have the budgets, and issues of compensation, the values of land are very high. What we have decided to do is to get into partnership with our implementing partners. There are many: GIZ, FRA, Food Rights Alliance, UCOBAC, IIRR, the number of them. We have a long list of partners. These partners have helped us come in to try to resolve these issues, because evictions have had an impact on food security. Evictions have caused more poverty. Evictions have caused insecurity. Evictions have caused very many negative things to development. If you look at the new now model that we are working in of parish development model now, if government were to go and invest, a family has invested the 1 million on the Chibanja, and then an owner comes and says, I have carried out a search at the land registry, and it shows that the land is free of any encumbrance, so you are a trespasser, you see? So that already alone is a very big problem.
Last
If
one.
that person gets a court order to evict these people, then whatever has been invested under the parish development model is at jeopardy.
Do court orders still mean anything?
Yes, a court order is a court order.
Because
a court order must be respected.
there are many circumstances where you have a court order, and it never works out. Does it still hold anything?
It will still hold, and if you are not satisfied with it, our view has been that you actually go back to the courts, the appellant courts, and seek review of it. It is important that whoever has actually been served with a court order, including us in the land's office, respect them. We also, in our sensitizations, have provided that tenants and landlords that are having challenges should actually look to report these or petition the office of the magistrate grade 1 or the chief magistrate's office. Those are the two offices in the law, in the Land Act, that it provides. But many usually go to wrong offices. Chairman LC5, Office of CAO, Office of RDC. These may not be able to actually issue or review or give, relief to those that are under distress. So it is important that we always follow and go by the offices that are in the law. The office of the RDC comes in because, when you talk about evictions, it now takes, you have insecurity coming in, issues of insecurity, issues of, a lot of, it manifests itself along those lines of insecurity. Landlessness, eviction, violence, those sorts of things. That's why they usually come in to either stop or to make sure that it is done in a proper manner.
Mr. Boy, I must say thank you for not just being present, but available to answer these hard questions on the Coffee Court. And of course, dear viewers, that is it for today, where we ask the hard questions, but questions that matter. My name is Fred Makuvia, and the Coffee Court continues Monday to Friday.